Lot to discuss. Combine, Brian Burns, Donte Jackson, Schuyler will be in a minute. Stu, it's Daz. Let's go ahead and hit it. Bleav in Carolina Panthers. Let's go.
Garoppolo. Thrown down. Brian Burns gets there. Spider-Man. What a pass rush by Burns. See how quickly he got to the edge and got
This is Desmond Johnson on the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast, here on the Bleav Podcast Network, the #1 podcast network for professionals. Do you Bleav? If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and rate the show on iTunes. We're available in your favorite directories: iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Luminary, and TuneIn. You can also find us at Bleav.com and at Bleav Podcast on Twitter.
Welcome into a brand new edition of the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by the Panthers' all-time leading rusher, Jonathan Stewart. Schuyler, Callihan, beat writer for Sports Illustrated, will be in with us shortly because he's got all kinds of stuff going on. Apparently, the West Virginia coach just got extended. He also writes for them. And, of course, news on our very own Brian Burns. We'll get to all that in just a bit. We got a lot to talk about. Stu's got some combine picks, watching the NFL combine. I saw you going up that 40 on social media over the weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about the combine and his experiences there. And any news and notes from the Carolina Panthers. Of course, the deadline for franchise tag is today at 4:00. We've got some news on that regarding Mr. Brian Burns and what it means going forward. Doesn't necessarily mean he's locked in or not locked in with the Carolina Panthers, but at least we've got some kind of news on that front, as well as some other roster moves. Before we get into our stuff for the day, and again, like I mentioned, Schuyler will be in with us in just a bit. He's kind of busy catching up some stuff for Sports Illustrated. Two quick reads. I'm going to give you guys one from Bet Online that you're familiar with, and a new one from our new sponsors over at Cut. First, with Bet Online. Bet Online continues to be your #1 source for all your basketball wagering needs, including pro and college hoops throughout the year. With up-to-the-minute odds, stats, and trends, you can follow your favorite team's path to the playoffs with in-game live betting, contests, and all the best player props. Experience the world's best wagering platform anytime from your desktop or your mobile devices. Head to Bet Online today to become part of the team, and remember to use the promo code Bleav, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here. And we also have a brand new sponsor, Cut. We love betting with our friends and betting them on anything, sports games, who's fast. That's what Cut allows us to do. The Cut app is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's legal in 40+ states. Cut has customizable odds, tracking capabilities, and an entire social network with group chats, user profiles, and rewards. All payments, no need for Venmo. I'd bet on Carolina Duke later on this week, but I never bet on Carolina Duke. It's like a jinx whenever I put that on. So, but you guys can. So definitely use the promo code Bleav, BLEAV, for a 10% welcome deposit bonus. Don't forget to use that promo code Cut. Put your money where your mouth is. And where we are and where we will start today is the combine. I know some people that get geeked for the combine, some people that don't. I kind of do. I've heard people call it the underwear Olympics and things of that sort. I mean, it's kind of cool to see who the fast guys are, who's the guys that can jump, that kind of thing. I don't know how much it translates out onto the field, because to me, there's a difference in 40 speed and football speed. You participated in the combine. There was a little bit of a story I saw in terms of you running the 40, that you weren't going to run it, and you ended up getting convinced by a legend to go ahead and do it. What exactly happened to you during your combine?
Well, it's interesting, man. As a player, you dream about going, into the draft process and, going through the evaluations. But looking back, bro, it's a lot of people ain't gonna like this, but it's like a slave trade.
Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. It kind of is. It's like they kind of,
but obviously, it's way less than all of that. So do not get me started there, because clearly these guys are getting paid and they're basically going through their job interview. But
we'll start.
But it's basically, you go in, take your shirt off. They're evaluating to see how big you are, and making sure that whatever they have on their notes from scouting and whatnot, it's all matching up, right? Like, is a guy 5'10" or is he 5'7"? Like let me know. Is he 220 pounds or is he, $180? And then, for like some guys, they get to showcase, their speed. We know he's fast in the field. Now, a guy that's fast in the field playing the ball with the ball in his hand, he can validate just how fast he really is. And now some guys, they look at this combine thing and they say, oh, like he's got straight beeline speed. He ran a 4.22.
Yeah.
But how's that going to translate to the game of football? Because if you can't run routes and if you can't catch, if you're body catching, that's one of the things I think Worthy has a problem. What's his first name?
Who is it?
Worthy.
Xavier Worthy from Texas.
Xavier Worthy. One of the things that Xavier Worthy has a problem with is body catching. And as you know, we've seen guys in the league that are very fast, but they have a problem staying on the field because they can't necessarily be the sure catch. You have to be able to pluck things out of the sky, just like what Steve Smith says all the time. Is he a plucker or is he a body catcher? And, being able to run those comeback routes and just pluck the ball out of the air gives you the ability to create more separation from the defender, to actually extend plays, get yards at the catch, and take one to the house and take it the distance. So I think, we as fans, we look at the combine, we're like, oh man, that guy ran a fast 40. He's the fastest 40 as a D lineman, but does he have good hips? Can he dance?
What's his technique?
Yeah. Like if you can't dance, then don't get on the floor.
I will say after Worthy's 40, which broke the record that John Ross had broke a couple of years ago. So he ran a 4.21, I think it was. He ended up running.
Yeah.
I immediately went to go look up highlights because I was like, okay, there's 40 speed, and what does he look like when he's playing?
And that thing it looks good. But obviously, it's like we can't necessarily say the competition that he's facing week in and week out is top tier, right? So obviously, when you get to the league, that's why I said the body catching, he's got to be a sure hands guy because you're going to be going against guys like Sauce Gardner. He named the top, DBs in the league.
Yeah.
If you don't create separation, which he's able to clearly,
Tyreek Hill's on him a little bit.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Tyreek Hill's a little bit more, compact in his size. And so he's able to be more physical a little bit as a receiver, catching the ball, getting guys off him and just being explosive. And being sure-footed, as a runner that has that much speed. And so I just look at things like that when I'm watching the combine. I'm like, okay, this guy's fast. Let me go look him up. And then you put up whatever he's putting up on film, if it's matching, then that's great. But I think one of the things that, like for instance, the gauntlet drill for the receivers, right? The pass catching gauntlet. Troy Franklin, University of Oregon receiver, one of the top receivers, could probably be top 5 receivers in the draft, in my opinion. That drill, he ran a 4.4 140, but that drill, he was weaving and going slow as molasses. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's one of the things I think coaches take into consideration is how fast do you play when we're throwing you the ball versus how fast are you just running down the field?
Yeah, Reverend Saul says Puka did the best at the gauntlet last year, and it definitely translated. So to your point, and Puka was drafted like in the 5th round, I think it was, by the Rams. So this is a loaded wide receiver draft. You bring up Worthy because I'd already started to see people talk about, maybe drafting him at 33 because it sounds like the Panthers aren't interested in trading up at all. Either they're going to stay where they are or they might trade down for additional picks, which I'm kind of leaning towards because it's a pretty loaded wide receiver draft, and definitely they need some more talent at wide receiver. If Worthy is sitting there at 33, if you're the Panthers, do you take a chance on him with the other needs that the roster needs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
listen. Everything I just said, I was just pointing out what I look at when I'm watching the draft. But speed is speed. And if we need a deep threat, that's him. Okay?
And that was kind of what we were missing. Yeah, we really didn't have it off the top off the defense guy, you know?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Adam Thielen was like a guy that's fast like that, you know?
Man.
Take the pressure off the underneath route.
The highlights I saw, he looked like a taller Tyreek Hill. I don't want to say because Tyreek is one of one. Like, honestly, like I can't really compare him to any wide receiver before him. But Tyreek is more like quick, and Worthy seems more like fast. like a car that needs to get up to speed. But once he's there, it don't take long. Like 1 second, 2 second, boom, he's at speed. And okay, good luck catching him. There's the dust. Tyreek is just quick, like first step. You know, like as soon as he has the ball, like he's just quick, like moving around all over the place. So
and that's why, to me, the body catching is a problem because he's going to have to wait that much longer for the ball to get to him. If he can pluck things out of the air, that's the degree of separation where he can use what God gave him, which is, I'm going to get up out of here. Beep, beep.
and I always think of, when you say body catchers, I always think of like possession receivers, whereas the hands guys are the one, like the outside dudes. So I don't know. It's interesting as we bring in Sports Illustrated Panthers beat writer Schuyler Callihan, who is pulling his hair out right now because apparently there is a Facebook outage and by default an Instagram outage as well. And there's all kinds of stuff going on while the outage is going on. I'm afraid to log in. It keeps asking me to log in. And I'm afraid to try because that kind of was what happened to me with my Twitter account. So I'm kind of like, let me just wait and see if everything resets and I can just go.
Yeah, well, I started posting as I post all my stuff on Facebook, and that's generally where most of our traffic comes from.
Yeah.
And I went on there and I'm like, oh no, what's going on? Like I thought it was like locking me out or something. I don't know if I got locked out or it was in Facebook jail. I called my wife and like, look, you got to post this for me because I can't, like, this is massive news right here. So she can't get it. And I'm like, oh no. So then I found it on Google and everyone's having the issue. Of course, the one day where I have a huge news piece for all three teams that I covered.
What's the Hornets? There's a Hornets news?
Hornets made the GM or vice president of basketball ops.
Oh, okay.
So
Hornets out here doing stuff, man. Like I might have to use these sweet tickets. I told you I've got sweet tickets, right? So like I have never used them because we're the corporate broadcast partner here in the Triad for the Hornets. We broadcast them out on the terrestrial radio.
Some tickets, dog.
I've never had a reason to. Like the Hornets, I don't want to go watch that. And then you know what I mean? Like, but now it feels like
they got a good team.
It might be a little fun. Yeah. So if I do, I'll hit y'all up, see if y'all want to come on. I know Schuyler's at the games anyway, but it might be different watching it from suite than from press rows. So I'll let y'all know. It probably sometime in April. I'm thinking about going. I think I can have 4. So I'll let y'all know. We'll figure it out. We were just talking a little bit about Xavier Worthy at the draft, Schuyler. If he's at pick 33, from what you saw and highlights from him, would you take Xavier at 33 for the Panthers, or would you do something else with that pick?
If he's the best player available, yeah.
Because
I
think at that point, a lot of guys are going to be picked over for sure.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to drop.
The good thing with this receiver class is it's incredibly deep. I mean, the more and more I study, I'm like, there's like probably 5 or 6 guys that are fringe first round, early second round type talents. But you get into those 20 to 32 picks where it's just a bunch of contenders, they're going to be starting to get some weapons for their quarterback. So for Carolina, like, I know it's always going to be focused on a receiver and offensive line at 33. And I get that. There's going to be options there at 33. But if the best player on the board is not a receiver or an offensive lineman, you can't just force that pick. That's what free agency is for. When you're a team that's 2-15, you just got to take the best player.
You got to get the best player.
Whoever, yeah. And that makes sense. And honestly, the more I think about it, I don't want them to trade up. Like, I've heard people say, oh, they should trade up. Get this guy. They're reaching if they're doing that. If anything, trade down. Like, from what you just said, it's so deep. I'd love to have 2 second round picks, you know, just one in the middle, one towards the end of the second round, and get that wide receiver, get that guard or whatever. Because I forgot to mention this at the start of the show. I've been hearing more and more about how Dave Canales wants to build the offense similar to the way the New Orleans Saints built around Drew Brees. And that was really, if you look back on it, the strength of their offensive line was the interior of the offensive line, the 2 guards in the center. And they built it out from there. And that's similar to what he wants to do for Bryce. So that kind of changes needs in terms of what they have available and what they might need to go get for the offensive line. So that might change what they do in the first or second round or third round for picks. Top priority is line, offensive line. Is that the top priority for this team? Reverend Saul says experts and scouts have said the best O-line draft in 20 years and best deepest wide receiver draft in over a decade. 2 positions we need the most. We need more draft capital this year.
That's the thing, man. Like you could go on for days about how many good offensive line prospects there are in this class. But again, that's the good thing too, is even at 33, you're still going to have some options there. Like, and I'm not just saying this because I cover him, but there's a really good prospect coming out of West Virginia, Zach Frazier. I don't know if you guys watched him at all. He broke his leg in the final game of the regular season. And the whole situation, it's a long story, but I'll try to make it short here. West Virginia was down. They needed to go score a touchdown. They had no timeouts. There was like a minute left in the game. First play of the drive, they throw a little tunnel screen, and it's about 5 yards short of the first down marker. Frazier goes, picks him up, the receiver, carries him to the first down marker, gets the first down, stops the clock, and stops the time. Well, as he's doing that, Frazier gets hit from behind, breaks his leg, and knows immediately I can't play. So he, instead of just sitting on the ground and wasting time or getting the 10-second runoff, he crawls off the field. Incredible awareness. No one tells him. Gets off the field. Other center comes in the game, ice cold, no snaps. Perfect execution. 4 plays later, they win the game.
I think I remember seeing that, right? Him dragging himself off the field. Yeah, wow.
Incredible. He is incredibly smart, incredibly tough. When I think of what Dan Morgan wants, like I just picture Zach Frazier. He's a center. He's played guard in high school. He could play probably either position and play very well for a decade plus. I'm telling you, if he's there at 33, I would not be shocked if he's the pick.
Okay, so and we'll have some more time to kind of get into guys that we would like to see on the Panthers roster in the draft here coming up, and it's going to be here before we know it. I
can tell you right now who I like.
Who you like, Stu?
This fella reigns from the University of Oregon. He sang in the gospel choir at Oregon. I mean, anytime you got a center that can sing and sing gospel music, come on, fella, I'm with that. No, but just the charisma. You have a guy that, I mean, there's the quarterback and there's the center. Those are the 2 guys that are leading the offense, period.
Yep.
And I love that. I love the charisma that, Jackson Powers Johnson displayed, throughout the combine. I think, the combine is a little bit more about like coaches meeting the player, meeting the person that has been talked about throughout the whole, year of college football, right? So now you get, for me, you get a smart guy, a guy that can plug and play, because clearly we need, some help there at the guard aspect of our offensive line, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like, I think everybody's, been harping so much on the offensive line, including us, right? Throughout the years, like, oh man, protect my guy.
I mean, they were awful, but
I think it's kind of hard. It's hard to be good, right? When you have so many different combinations of starting.
That is true. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you can't find any rhythm. You can't find any connection or anything like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's just we go out and find one guy, maybe 2 guys.
Maybe not in the draft. That might be free agency.
And it might exactly. That's what I was going to say. You might just want somebody that has some experience to come in here from free agency perspective, because right now, to me, the strength of this draft, I don't know about you guys, but it is the receiving core. I honestly feel good about the fact that obviously I feel good about the fact that we drafted Bryce Young last year, because I'm not completely sold on any of these quarterbacks either.
You know what? Let's start right there because I was having the same thought. Like, because as much as people have dumped on Bryce Young, we've actually championed Bryce throughout the whole year. I don't really remember us being like, we're a little worried about Bryce.
Build around my guy.
Build around Bryce. Like, would you rather have Bryce Young or Caleb Williams? Would you rather have Bryce Young or Drake May? Would you rather have Bryce or Jalen Daniels from LSU?
I can tell you this: the only person that I would choose, that I would have like a hard time choosing between, is Drake May.
Drake is the truth. I ain't gonna lie. Drake could have left last year and probably been okay.
But as far as like, this draft goes, it's the receiver position that is the heaviest, and we need to figure out another guy to give Bryce to throw to. Need some options, baby.
Hey, for those that were dreaming of the Mike Evans pipe dream coming to Carolina, that got squashed yesterday as my man signed a $52 million 2-year extension. He was never coming here, first of all. He is a walking Hall of Famer. Like, he is the only wide receiver in NFL history to start his first 10 seasons with 1,000-yard seasons. 10 in a row. Like, I think he's had different quarterbacks that whole time.
Quarterbacks too,
Jameis Winston to Tom Brady.
Man, yeah, he's seen it all, baby.
Yeah, he wasn't coming to Carolina. He was not interested in that. Now, probably
congrats to him. Yeah, congrats to him, man, because he gets to, basically end his career, a Hall of Famer, but he doesn't have to uproot. I don't know if you guys got a chance to listen to Club Shay Shay with Terry Crews.
Not yet.
But my wife is addicted to that show right now.
But it's a good show, man. Like, Shannon Sharp does a good job of just letting his people come on there and just talk.
Said yak.
And they have a little glass of yak.
It's that yak that's making them talk.
Yeah, man, have a couple. Hey, before we go on, I need you to have 2 of these.
Get real warm before we start going here.
Nah, but he does a good job. But Terry Crews opened up about how hard it is for, the majority of the experiences that guys have within the NFL. You work so hard in the offseason to make a team, but only so many get to make the team. He made the roster at the end of preseason and had practice and basically went home, and they were like, "Hey, come back up here. You're cut. bring your book." And that's when he made the Redskins roster. A lot of times, man, like, fans don't realize how many dreams were crushed. And I feel like, the story that Terry was able to, put on Club Shay Shay just really shows, the magnitude of how much hard work goes into a lot of these guys' crafts and opportunities and this process. When it comes down to it, a lot of these guys don't make it. And which kind of really gets me to this next point about, Donte Jackson and all the talk right there.
Yeah.
For a guy that's basically, he was drafted here, he was injured here and there, and put a lot of time and effort into being the best that he can possibly be as a Carolina Panther. And so I just want to remind people, as they're, championing, the keep pounding and, being a Panther fan, this is the offseason. Yes, we want to get better. I think it's important to realize that Donte is going to do his best to turn the noise off at this point, right? Because there's going to be a lot of talk as far as, oh, he's not going to be here next year. So there's a lot of uncertainty for a guy like that. And yeah, like, his problems are a lot different and a lot easier than many may say, the average problems. But let's have some grace as we go through this offseason and with the current players and the roster moves and whatnot. Let's not throw anybody down the toilet.
Yeah.
Because I just want to be able to shed light on that, because it's not, a bunch of roses and chocolate, for these guys that are playing in NFL. It's a lot of pressure, and, and when you are in a position or at a phase in your career where people are questioning you, that's a feeling that nobody can really shake as easy as you think. So, but shout out to Donte Jackson. Hope things work out.
Let's shift over to that. Some roster notes here now that Schuyler's in the house. Let's start off with Donte Jackson reporting on All Panthers SN yesterday. Yesterday morning. Panthers expected to move on from cornerback Donte Jackson. It'll create some cap space by parting ways with the veteran corner. To your point, Stu, I do see fans talk about these players almost as if it's a video game. Like there's no feelings involved, that they're not attached to the city they're in or the team that drafted them. Donte Jackson was a second-round draft pick for the Carolina Panthers. He's been here his entire career. He's lived in Charlotte his entire career. And now with them expecting to move on, it's business. A lot of these players deal with that. So it's not like it was unexpected, I guess. It does leave a hole.
Yeah, it does leave a hole. And maybe there's something to say about what, this offseason means for the Panthers as far as, what they're, what's on the market for them.
Yeah.
And we can get to that later. But I think, obviously, I'm not saying, oh, boo-hoo, let's weep over the process. This is the process. But I'm trying to, send the message out there to the fans. Let's, put some positive energy out there.
He's still a Panther.
He's still a
Panther. He's been here his whole. He's still a Panther. Wherever he goes, he's going to still, in my mind, be a Panther. The crazy thing with this league too, he just signed a 3-year extension in 2022. That was just 2 seasons ago. If he is released, it'll clear $6 million in cap space for the Panthers. He had 76 career starts for the Panthers, 46 passes defended, 14 interceptions. He's only 28. Last year he had 59 tackles and 5 passes defended. Donte did run into some injury issues past couple of years in terms of being able to stay on the field, but I wasn't even expecting Donte to be one of the cuts. I think Schuyler, though, you wrote a couple of things in terms of guys that might be targets to be cut from the Panthers, and this isn't over as the new regime comes in and they start to mold this roster to what they want it to look like. Who's someone you think might be at risk of being cut? I keep seeing Taylor Moton, but I don't think they're going to cut him. I would think they would restructure him. He's the biggest cap hit of everybody on the team going into next year. Who are you hearing, Schuyler, in terms of potentially at risk?
So I did have Donte written down. I don't know if they're going to do that soon. He does have a roster bonus on the 16th. So they could do it before then to avoid that. But if they wait till post June 1, make that a June 1 designation, it will save them $10.5 million. Other guys, Xavier Woods would save $4.5 million. Shaq Thompson would be around $3 million. Terrace Marshall, $1.4 million. Austin Corbett, $6.2 million. So those are a few names. I think Austin Corbett probably makes the most sense because of the knee injuries, which sucks. But I mean, when he's on the field, I mean, it's kind of like a JC Horn conversation, right? Like when those two guys are on the field,
they're difference makers.
Yeah, you can't get much better than those two. So I mean, it's hard to want to move on from them. I think they want to keep Austin Corbett, but maybe we'll see what happens in free agency if they add a guard. Maybe if they find something in the draft they feel comfortable with. I feel like they'd want to keep Corbett and add maybe kind of like a little bit of a buffer and then draft maybe a left guard to compete with Brady Christensen on that other side. So I don't know if there's going to be another big-time move, but maybe he's the biggest.
Would you kick the tires on Tyron Smith? Because I saw Dallas is cutting him, the left tackle, the all-pro left tackle.
I wouldn't. I think – it seems like they're sold on Icky at left tackle, and I kind of agree with it. Like, just give him one more chance. I mean, give him a staff that's aligned. And he's got 2 years. He's got 2 years under his belt now. This will be the third head coach that he's played for in as many years. Like, give him a chance, and if it doesn't work out, then you got to try and kick him inside. But I think you want to save that money, because when you go out and spend money on a left tackle, you're not paying just a couple of bucks. You're gonna be spending pretty heavily. So I think they want to see it work with him first.
And thinking back on it, from what we know now, thanks to the reporting of Joe Person and Diana Rossini from back around November, it's kind of hard to blame Icky if like the coaches that are his coaches are bickering. Like, you know what I mean? Like if they're not getting along, it's kind of hard to blame him for his technique if he don't know what he's supposed to be doing because he's getting two different things from two different coaches or whatever. So I'm kind of peeling back from the whole season. Like maybe it was more of a case of nobody knew what they were doing because the whole coaching staff is just, they're just like running back and telling Tepper and all this stuff. Of course they're going to fail. Like if there's no leadership really. And Frank Wright is really, he doesn't strike me as the type to take charge, like, y'all listen to me. And he's
Desmond, what you're basically saying is have grace. This is a grace period.
Yeah. Let's relax.
And I think the reason why this grace period works is because we can see, a positive direction ahead. We have something to look forward to with a new coaching staff. There was no still right now, there's no convincing that I need about this coaching staff that we have, led by Canellas. I think last year, a little bit of convincing needed to be had because the dynamic and, the uncertainty coming off of the rural situation. I think everybody in that situation was on shells, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you put any coaching staff in that situation last year, it's a little frantic. It's hard to perform. And I think going through what we went through last year, just this past year, we're able to say, hey, look, we hit rock bottom. Only way we can go right now is up. and so it takes a little bit of the pressure off of the situation as a whole. And so that's players and coaches included. So, and I mean, if this was a Frank Reich hiring coaching staff this year, it's just way different than the vibe last year. That's all I could say.
They all know
different
each other.
Vibe. Yeah. And so I'm really excited for the players like Icky to get an opportunity to be in a good environment, a good learning environment to where, we don't want you messing up, but when you do, it's safe. It's safe for you to mess up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as a player, you need that from your coaching staff to be able to learn and grow.
What gives me the most comfort in this coaching staff is they essentially picked this situation, right? Like you could say that just about any year or any coaching staff, but last year there was a lot of uncertainty about what they should do at quarterback. Should they bring in Derek Carr? Should they trade for somebody? Should they draft somebody? And then it was, which quarterback are you going to draft? We all know about that situation, right? There's a whole lot of back and forth about who actually wanted who. Well, with this staff picked Bryce Young. They said, I like this situation. I want to go to Carolina because they got a couple pieces. You can work with that. Yeah.
That's a good point, Schuyler.
Yeah. I like the idea of them coming in and taking basically raw clay and molding it into whatever they want to mold it to. And plus something else we never talk about a whole lot, but we really should talk about it more. We've echoed it a lot. Relationships mean a lot, man. Relationships, especially in football. Like if you don't trust the people that are teaching you or the person beside you, it's just not going to work. Like you can get by in like basketball and not trust the dude that's your point guard or whatever, and y'all can still win basketball games. But if you're the guard and you don't trust the what the quarterback's doing, or you don't trust the center and his calls or whatnot, or your coach,
or you don't trust yourself, or if you don't trust yourself,
you don't know what you're doing. Like what?
Am I supposed to pull wide right now?
It's hard. It's hard. And just thinking back on last year, there was no relationships. It was all patchwork, like from the coaching staff down. So looking back on it, it was never going to work. Oh, breaking news. What? Facebook's back up, y'all. Facebook's back up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I saw the Facebook like in the corner.
I thought you was talking about some news in the NFL.
Facebook. We can't live without Facebook. Like we're all addicted.
I don't have
you can. Yeah, we were talking about I've been tagging a Jonathan Stewart on Facebook That's an account that Stu has not had access to for like 9 years or something.
Yeah,
so it's like
I hate Facebook. I hate it so much, but that's like literally where all of our traffic comes from.
the best interaction. Yeah, you get no longer interaction on Facebook.
Like, if it weren't for my job, I probably wouldn't even have social media. Like,
Same here. I'm burnt out, to be honest. Like, it's especially Twitter. I held out so long from having a Twitter account because it just felt like a cesspool over there where like everybody just goes and complains about stuff. But there's all the sports stuff is there. Like all the sports folks are there. It's the easiest way to break news and get stuff out. I finally broke down and made a Twitter account. That Des 350 Cobb account was only there for like, I think I built it in 2019. So I've only had it for like a couple of years. And I was telling Stu earlier before he came in, Schuyler, I went to go check that account that got taken from me, and now it has a blue check mark on it. So I
noticed that. I didn't know if you were. Did he really pay for that?
Whoever it was did, yeah. Like I don't know how to feel. Should I feel like flattered that they want people to really know it's me, or should I feel insulted that Twitter still doesn't believe me that is not me, and they're just leaving the account running? And apparently still spitting Bitcoin stuff. So.
Yeah, Bitcoin expert over there. Let me tell
you.
Yo, Bitcoin's up. Bitcoin is up,
right now.
Yeah, it is up. I'm in here buying right now. Like, yo,
that thing might get to. Hey, that thing gonna get to 100.
I actually just started. I
was just wondering.
I actually just started getting into the stock market for the first time ever, and I started seeing those tweets pop up, and I'm like, maybe I need to talk to Desmond about this. And I'm like, oh wait, that's not.
People are still responding to it too. Whoever it is, they blocked me, so I can't even see my own account anymore. Because I actually, one of the threats that came, I was like, "Yo, can I have my account back, please?" And then, like, literally 30 seconds later, you have been blocked from this user. You're no longer allowed to see their tweets. I'm like, dang, is this somebody I know? Like, did somebody do this to me? Like, I don't know. I'll keep working. But going back to Donte Jackson. My boy Bleav makes a great comment. He says he's going to be great in Buffalo.
Usually that's how it works, right?
That's usually how it works. So,
they do have some aging guys in that secondary. So
they do need some secondary help.
Damn, that might be exactly. Was he? When did Norman get drafted? Well, not Norman. When did Jackson get drafted?
28 or.
McDermott's already gone, wasn't he? Yeah, McDermott's been gone since what, 2017? So maybe the year before. I don't know. I just stumped Schuyler. He's gonna have to look that up. I was gonna say if he was part of drafting him, that actually makes a whole lot of sense. And I hate 2018. Mm-hmm. Okay, he was somewhere around that area. So yeah, look for that. Reverend Saul says Moton needs to be extended. We can save $13 million, and he deserves to be anyway. Xavier needs to be the same. He was our second highest graded DB.
Do you really want me to make things chaotic on here?
Let's do it. You know what? Hey, right. You know what we're about.
Let's just gauge the temperature of the fan base right now. So
that's always dangerous.
Yeah. So that's the cool part about having this live and interactive, right? People can make their comments, but
it's a pretty large amount.
Just say that this whole time, maybe the idea is to just really kind of blow this thing up and just build it completely around Bryce. I'm talking both sides of the ball. What if they decide, let's kick the tires on maybe trading Taylor Moton, or like people were saying, potentially using him as a cut candidate. You move on from Taylor Moton. You move on from Shaq Thompson. You move on from Brian Burns in some capacity, and you're just trying to get as much draft capital as possible, and you are making this thing a long-term process.
Oh, you mean cleaning house? Like everybody but Bryce? Like just
let me be clear. I'm not suggesting they do this. I'm just saying, what would your reaction be if they decided to go that route and just started getting rid of everybody?
On offense, I wouldn't mind. Because I mean, honestly, besides Bryce, who is untouchable?
That anyway.
Yeah, who's untouchable on our offense right now? Like, did you just like, no, you can't trade him? Maybe Mo. Well, I don't even think Moton's untouchable. Is he untouchable? The right
I don't think he's untouchable, but
I think he is, because he's obviously. Listen to me. Everybody want to unload stuff to get stuff.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, you got to keep on the stuff. You got to keep holding.
At some point, exactly. It's like, why on earth would I go get rid of an antique that's worth billions of dollars for some furniture that might work?
That's why I never understood the whole let's just trade Burns and get some first round picks. Like he is a first round pick. Like, well, why are we this constant cycle of we're chasing picks? And it's like
I want to throw this part in here real quick because I've seen it all over the place before about how the Panthers should have traded Burns and took those 2 first round picks from the Rams when they could have. At the end of the day, he still has the opportunity to negotiate with other teams right now, even under the tag. If another team submits an offer and he agrees to it, the Panthers can match that offer. If they don't, they will get 2 first-round picks. So it's not like
they didn't need to trade
that compensation. Now, maybe it was 2 first-round picks and some other stuff. That's what you might be losing out on is the other stuff. But at the end of the day, the 2 first-round picks are the only things that matter.
Right. And so either way, the Panthers
hit with the taxes. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. So in the end, the Panthers knew in the back of their head that either way we're going to get 2 first-round picks if we lose him, if we do this right. So let's go to that. Brian Burns is official. You can read the report over on SI.com. The Panthers, All Panthers FN site that Schuyler runs for Sports Illustrated, and this is posted about an hour ago. Carolina Panthers have placed the franchise tag on linebacker Brian Burns, according to Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. 1-year offer will be worth $24 million, which is the tag rate for. They have him as a linebacker, not as a defensive end. Keeps Burns from officially hitting the open market without restriction. It doesn't necessarily mean he'll be a Panther next year. Like you just described, Schuyler, other teams can start to bid on him, and the Panthers have the right to match it. So it really puts the Panthers in a good position to see what does the market think Brian Burns is worth, and we'll kind of go from there instead of potentially overpaying Brian Burns or underpaying Brian Burns. So for that matter, it helps the player too. So Dan Morgan did say at the combine last week that all options are on the table regarding Burns. And it did feel like from hearing him talk that Burns is priority number 1 in the front office in terms of getting him situated and done. If like you just said, if they decide not to match an offer from another club and Burns signs elsewhere, the Panthers will receive 2 first-round picks. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. Brian Burns is what, 25? Is that right?
Yeah.
So he's 25, y'all. Like, I get it. You want picks. They're sexy. Everybody wants draft picks. Everybody wants first-round picks.
It's unproven.
And we never keep ours. We always trade them away. So like, why are we trying to bring in more guys? We're trading away Brian Burns. That's what everybody wants.
By the way, when everyone was so excited when you traded Christian McCaffrey because you got what was equivalent to a first-round pick, what happened with those picks?
Some of them we didn't even keep. Like we traded them off. I think Chicago has a couple.
Traded one of them in the deal to Chicago. You traded part of it in that Steelers deal to move up to get DJ Johnson, who's a 25-year-old pass rusher and is.
I will say, given the history, right, we can't rely so much on history at this point. Got a new GM, got a new sheriff in town.
We have no idea what's about to go down.
We don't know what's going to happen. But all I can say is when you got yourself a Corvette in the garage, only time you bring him out is to drive and to wash.
Yeah.
Take care of him. And then because you go and trade him in for something else, it might not be what you thought it was.
Grass ain't always green on the other side. Like, and I think our fan base gets like
it's hard, fellas, to go and find a guy in the draft that just pans out. You got injuries, performance, COVID.
My whole take on it has always been like you need to draft for development, not draft to fill your needs. Free agency is where you take care of that.
Yeah,
listen, write that down.
Yeah, that should be a t-shirt. That should be a t-shirt.
Write that down. Everybody take notes.
Say that again, Schuyler.
Say that.
Draft for development, not for needs.
Draft development, not
because if you try to go and fix all your issues in the draft, I'm just going to tell you now, it's going to be the same damn thing as it was in 2023.
Right.
Yep. You're going to be the Cleveland Browns, or what used to be the Cleveland Browns.
And every now and again, you might find you a guy that.
Yeah, and then that's when you can be like, oh, damn,
I'm a genius.
You actually hit on this.
I'm a genius.
Yeah. Look at what we did. Look at what we did.
Money.
Oh, I found Puka. Oh, yeah, that's
Right.
great.
So, like, you can't brag about Puka till you actually have Puka. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you can't like base it all on, well, we're gonna just fill in with 5th round picks.
I will say
But part of that is Sean McVay and his staff.
That's what I was about to say. That video of Sean McVay and his staff, I'm not going to sit here and say they were looking at him like, oh, we're going to develop him. No, they looked at him and said, he's going to do this.
Yeah.
They were absolutely certain.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what they were going to do when they brought him.
You, my boy Bleav, super fan for Bleav in Panthers, says exactly. Folks want to trade Burns for a bunch of IKEA furniture that we got to build when we got someone that's already put together. Like, I've never understood this chasing.
I wouldn't say IKEA furniture, but I will say furniture that you've never seen.
Yeah. I don't know. Is it 3 legs or 4? And like,
you traded DJ Moore, you traded Christian McCaffrey, and you give up all those picks. Like, I get you went up to get Bryce Young, but like, you traded all those pieces away, and now we're all surprised that the offense is as bad as it is.
There's nobody here.
Just imagine if you had those horses in your barn, right? If you had those guys, because the quarterbacks, you probably would have been in a position to draft a quarterback at some point anyways, because that roster wasn't that good. It just didn't have a quarterback. Now you maybe have a quarterback and don't have anything else. So you just flip-flop your needs.
They're chasing. And like, it's kind of going back to, is there anybody safe on offense? Not really. The defense, there's dudes like Louvu, Burns, Brown, Horn. Like, you can kind of, you know.
Nah, I disagree with that.
With the offense? Who's an offense that you're like, we got to keep? I gave him Moten. That's because he needed to bet.
Chuba.
Ooh, really? Is Chuba elevated to that point?
If we thinking with our minds here, thinking clearly, Chuba last year was arguably our most consistent player.
Him and Thielen, I'd give it to him.
Him and Thielen. Yeah. No, Thielen was the most consistent, but Chuba, in the sense of like what we're trying to accomplish now with this new regime, Chuba seems to fit that DNA right now.
Do you think? What do you think they do with? Miles Sanders, because it's a brand new regime, brand new offense. Like, we don't know what he looks like.
I mean, they could.
I think they keep him, bro. Because look at me. People want to say what they want to say about Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders can play football. Like, let's not be ridiculous here. Clearly, you got to figure out his strengths. I know what his strengths are. Making people look stupid in space.
Give him on space,
like, give him some room. And so, if we look at our weaknesses last year, it was offensive line in the scheme, whatever it is. We had no space. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the coaching staff to look at Miles Sanders and say, hey, look, we're either going to commit to this guy or we're not. And if you commit to him, you figure out ways to give him a chance to win. Because last year when we saw him in space, I don't care what nobody say. He was different out there. He looked different.
Yeah,
just different. Yeah. It's like, wow, where was this guy? You know,
they just never seen him in space. They always did the opposite of what the player was good at. That was the thing. You know, it's just weird. Good zone blockers. Let's not do that.
You bring in a guy from Philly who was running a certain scheme, and then you just say, hey, we're not going to do that anymore.
No, you figure it out. Where's the hole? You figure it out.
Figure it out. Yeah. Well, the offensive line's in my lap. Well, I don't care. Figure it out.
Figure it out. Another thing, too, that I think we might be the only podcast really that's Panther-centric that mentioned this throughout the season, because we noticed it in the beginning of the year, and everybody kind of forgot about it. Miles Sanders played hurt all year last year. Remember, he had like a hip injury or something in the preseason. That don't go away. Like, especially as a running back, I'd imagine a hip injury, that's going to linger all year, and that's going to affect your movement, being able to juke people, speed, pain tolerance, I'd imagine. So, like, and he was in and out throughout the year dealing with other injuries. He was probably because he was nursing that original hip injury. So let's give him an off seson to, like we said at the end of the show. Let's
see how I just converted you to 3.
You did very easily. I wasn't even aware of what's going on. Like, let's keep
mind games with these.
Let's keep him. Let's keep Miles. Let's let him go.
If you move off of Miles this offseason, the dead cap would be $8.4 million. If you wait till 2025, the dead cap, make sure we get that clear. The dead cap would be 2.9.
That's a lot for us. I wouldn't even bring this up, but this makes sense because of Stu's love of the Denver Broncos. We got to talk about Russell Wilson and him and the Broncos making the move to cut him.
Hey, listen, I'm glad Russell is not a Denver Bronco anymore because I really my clowning last year or the previous years, it was due to the fact that Russell was on the Broncos.
Yeah, it was the Broncos, not Russ. Yeah,
I just didn't like the Broncos because of obvious reasons.
You like the New York Giants?
Yeah, I like the New York Giants.
I know you do.
But
that's where he's going to be next.
That's where he's going to be.
You think so?
Wow.
Ooh, Russell, the big apple.
I would like to see Tomlin take a chance.
Russell in Pittsburgh.
It don't sound right, but no. I would like for Tomlin just to be like, you know what, 10 toes in a bucket.
That sounds like peanut butter, and like
mayonnaise.
What is?
Yeah, it's just two things that aren't supposed to be together. But maybe you put them together, like, hey, this tastes pretty good. How come nobody did this before?
You maybe get him in Atlanta.
I thought Atlanta was really wanting Fields, but with this though, and I heard it. I was listening to
Justin right now.
Yeah, well, I was watching NFL Live yesterday, and before I forget, shout out to the family of Chris Mortensen, who passed away earlier this week. ESPN reporter, one of the best in the business. One of the reasons why I wanted to get into the business and do what I do currently now, and from all understanding, just a great role model for reporters and guys and girls who want to get on TV and that kind of thing. Just I wanted to put that in this episode. Shout out to Chris, to Morton, his family. But the thing with Russ and Fields in Atlanta, I was watching NFL Live yesterday, and here's the thing with Russ: since they're cutting him, Denver's on the hook for his money, so you don't have to worry about really paying him. You don't have to give up picks to get him, which means you might be able to get him fairly cheap. Someone's going to take a chance on him, even if it's for him to come and just compete. Now, does Russell feel like he's going to do that? Because we've seen quarterbacks like a Cam Newton where they had said at this point in their career, they're not coming in to compete. They want to go someplace where it's this and this and that and that. And it's kind of, you can drop them in and go. Is Russell at that point, or is Russell a competitor and wants to go someplace where maybe they're a little bit more than the quarterback away, but maybe he can be that guy? Because I've never really liked Russell Wilson. Like, I can't say I hate him. I've never really liked him because he played at NC State. So it started there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really.
You got to grow up, man.
Yeah. Then he played in Seattle against you guys. It's like we had a little rivalry there, like for a bit. Yeah. Like Seattle, Carolina was the rivalry for a little bit.
Maybe the Raiders. Raiders need a quarterback. Or now this ain't gonna happen. I'm just throwing it out there just to start crap. But maybe a reunion in Seattle.
Ooh.
Pete Carroll's not the coach anymore.
Yeah,
it might work out then.
Huh? That's interesting too. You think he would go back?
Oh yeah,
they traded him.
Man, the Seahawks fans would be like, Russell!
Yeah. And like I said, Pete Carroll's no longer the coach, and that's where I was going. I always felt like Russell got more credit than maybe he deserved for that team success, because that team success was really that's what we know.
People, Marshawn Lynch out there,
Cam Chancellor jumping over lines.
I'm gonna get mine more than I'm gonna get got.
Were you were on the squad that year that y'all played Seattle? I think it was 2014 when Cam Chancellor jumped the line twice to block the kick. Did you see that on the field?
Yes.
What was your thought? See him do it not once, but then did it again. Like, the line knew he was going to try to do it. He did it anyway, like with ease. Like, just jumped over the line and tried to block the field, or what was it, extra point or something? What did you think when you saw that happen? Because that's like a Bo Jackson type thing. Like, you don't see that. Like, you don't run on the wall of the of the baseball stadium. It's like you're not supposed to be able to do it. What ran through your mind when you saw Cam Chancellor jump over the line twice?
Somebody tackle him.
somebody
chase him down. Like,
damn cyborg.
Every time we played the Seahawks, bro, it was legitimately a treat. It was what football was. It's what you anticipate football being. It was smash mouth. It was physical.
Good games.
It was every play mattered. You know what I'm saying? Every possession mattered. And it was just fun. And there's very meaningful games every single time we played.
Two teams who kind of built similarly.
Similar defense. You know, you have a mobile quarterback that's accurate. And then obviously the running game is what, both teams fed off of.
Yeah. So
I mean, it was fun, but watching man, listen, Cam Chancellor is a freak.
He's a cyborg. I'm telling you, he is not from here.
I remember one time we played each other. Can't remember exactly which game, but it was there. It was a away game in Seattle. We lost. I think it might have been the year before we went to the Super Bowl, and it was towards the end of the game, and I just remember it was a head-on collision, me and him. And I don't really, looking back, I'm not going to say who won that collision because I just don't want, either way, it was a collision. And all I know is I was like, man, I can't wait to watch this on film because how it felt and the outcome, this don't feel right. It does not feel right.
And dude, Cam Chancellor was like a 3rd-round pick. That's kind of my point. You can build this stuff. You don't need 1st-round picks to build your team. It's nice to have them, but you need talent evaluators more than anything else. That's the one thing I miss the most about not having Marty Hurney, because Marty Hurney would nail the 1st-round pick. That was his kind of his thing. He can get you a 1st-rounder. Everything after that, I don't know. But he would nail you the talent guy. He would get you the Stu. He'd get you the D'Angelo Williams. He'd get you the Jordan Gross. You know what I mean? But if they end up getting a Steve Smith or something in the 2nd or 3rd round, it was kind of whoops. Hey, here's a great guy. We picked him to kick returns, but he can do a whole lot more. But those 1st-rounders, look at the guys that Marty picked: Cam Newton, Luke Kuechly.
Charles Godfrey. You remember Charles Godfrey?
I love Charles Godfrey. Yeah.
He came in the same league, same year. Drafting guys that can make an actual difference year one is very hard. And
they're going to need that this year. And I don't know, can Dan Morgan do that? That's kind of the task at hand. Can he bring dogs in that can be contributors from day one as rookies or free agents that they're going to bring in that can identify with that mentality? I wanted to real quick before we leave it. Speaking of Buffalo, of course, y'all know the Ultimate Panthers 53-man roster is still going on right now. Go follow us on Twitter, or X. As far as I'm aware, it is up. Again, Facebook and Instagram were down when we first came in today. They are now up now, so you can actually find us on Facebook watch as well right now. You can go back and watch that. It'll be on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio. The audio will be on Bleav Podcast Networks, all major podcast platforms. I meant to put up 2 polls. I only put up 1 poll this week, and it was actually for defensive coordinator. If you've missed this, we've gotten through head coach and quarterback. QB1 is Cam Newton. All this voted on by the fans. Me, Stu, Schuyler, none of us are voting on this. We're just responding to what the fans are putting together. Quarterback room is Cam Newton. The backup is Jake Delhomme. The head coach is Riverboat Ron Rivera. He won over John Fox. And we didn't do offensive coordinator. I meant to do that one this week too, so I'll throw it in this week. But we did do defensive coordinator. And as you can see, by a wide margin, Sean McDermott won over Vic Fangio, who I forgot was our defensive coordinator when we first began, 1995 to 98, and Steve Wilkes, who I threw in there as he was only defensive coordinator for 1 full year in 2017, but the job he did that year actually got him the job in Arizona as head coach. And I don't know of any other person in the league who probably has as much worse luck as Steve Wilkes when it comes to jobs right now. The man just cannot hold a job longer than 12 months, and it's not even his fault. He's actually doing really well at his job, and then something just happens. So Sean McDermott is your defensive coordinator. He was here from 2011 to 2016, probably the best stretch of Carolina Panther football in franchise history. We won 3 NFC South division titles during that stretch, won an NFC championship, went to the Super Bowl. with McDermott as the defensive coordinator. And then, of course, McDermott has taken that template up north to Panthers North and Buffalo and has rebuilt it there from the way the quarterback looks to the way the defensive front looks. Like, it all kind of looks familiar. So McDermott is your defensive coordinator for the Ultimate 53. Next week, we'll have the offensive coordinators up. And I'm trying to figure out how to do wide receivers because I think we need like 4. But I'm going to have to split them up in a way where it's not like an avalanche for like one player or another. So I'm going to have to kind of figure this out.
Are we a 12 personnel team? Or are we
let's talk let's talk about that then. The 3, what are we? What are we running? We got to kind of run what the Panthers ran, right? So
I mean,
are we like a smash mouth run and ground and pound play action type team?
We were definitely 11. We did a lot more 11 than 12. I mean, we had sprinkles of 12, depending on if we were winning or not.
I don't know that you would have the faces to do a 12.
Explain. Can one of y'all explain real quick for the viewers, like the quick difference between 11 personnel and 12?
11 means you have 1 tight end,
and 12.
The second number is your tight ends.
Oh, okay. So and 12 personnel is 2 tight ends. So we did a lot of 12 too when Rivera first got here. When was it Chud? Chud was offensive coordinator. We had Shockey and I'm gonna put Chud in there. We've had like some offensive coordinator, Dan Henning. We've had a couple. I'm gonna throw them all in there. I'm curious to see what comes out of that for the offensive coordinator one, because that's gonna be interesting, because the fan base has had a relationship with the Panthers offensive coordinators for the past 15 years. It's kind of love-hate. So we'll see who they pick for that.
Hey, we were talking about Wilkes. I know McDermott is the favorite there for defensive coordinator, but obviously the love for Wilkes. I was able to pull up some notes that I took once that he when he led the team in a team meeting due to an absence of Rivera one year, I think when his house burned down or something like that. But Coach Wilkes said, like a tomato, staying green is about resilience and persistence year in and year out. Just as a tomato plant withstands the seasons, stay green means staying focused on your goals regardless of the challenges. Stay rooted, stay nourished, and keep growing towards the ripest potential one season at a time.
Maybe Wilkes book fire.
And so, like, basically, like, the message is always stay green. Don't come in here thinking that you don't got to take notes. If it's like legitimately, I wish I would have had my box of like binders and notebooks. It got stolen through a whole process of moving and all that, but I won't tell anybody. It sucks. Yeah. But like ever since then, like I legitimately like took notes every day, even if it was just like me putting the date,
almost like a personal journal,
and
right?
then basically. Yeah. But like you taking notes on things that you're hearing, plays or whatever, things for you to memorize. But even if it's things that you already know, load power. I know what load power is, but I'm writing it down. You know what I'm saying? Because you just never know what might come to mind as far as a technique or something that another player needs to be thinking about, or something about the team that we're facing that week, as far as keys to why the play is going to be successful. So that message, man, when we talked about Wilkes, every time I hear his name, I think about that quote. I think about that meeting.
I really don't understand.
So special.
I don't really understand why he's getting the short end of the stick. I mean, the dude is over exceeding expectations in every job he's been in.
Players love him.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, Stu, you know him, you've been around him. I mean, do you have any idea as to why this keeps happening to him?
I mean, I'm gonna just put it this way: we know why.
Yeah, because really, the 49ers, he was the scapegoat of that loss. Really, when he really wouldn't. I mean, if you look at what they did to the Chiefs the first 3-4 quarters, like holding Pat Mahomes to what, 3 points or something like that, they scored the touchdown off of the special teams there. So
I don't know much about like Kyle Shanahan personally, like what he's like or anything like that, but I almost wonder if there was almost kind of like a fear of power, because Steve is somebody that he can probably really command, not probably, he can command a locker room the very second he shows up. And I wonder if that may be part of the reason why a lot of teams keep kind of recycling him, because
can't be too alphas.
The man's a damn head coach.
Give him a head coach. Let him coach. I mean, you might be onto something, Schuyler, because that kind of, I almost feel like maybe that's why he's not Carolina, that it would have created a power struggle between him and ownership, and, in terms of who the players followed, because he gets it. Like, he understands the locker room. He's a head coach. Yeah.
He's a head coach.
You told me to do this, but Wilkes told me to do that. So
I'm gonna go.
I feel like Wilkes knows what he's talking about.
and Wilkes ain't the type that's going to be like, he doesn't seem like they would conform to like whatever Tepper wanted. Like, he would do what's best for the team, as opposed to the owner going, hey, why don't we run this play next Sunday? I saw it, 1985, the Steelers ran it, and I think it'd be cute if we ran it too. Like, he's not going to, Wilkes don't strike me as the type that'll be like, okay, boss, and then go do it. Maybe that's why he's not here.
We're going to run the ball every play.
Like, okay, watch this.
Yeah.
Because that's what we got. That's what we're working with.
You might be right with that. But, yeah, he got some love on the poll, though, even though, like I said, he was only a defensive coordinator for us for 1 year. In 2017, we won the division that year and had I want to say, a top 10 defense that year as well. And Mike Turgovac got 0 votes, even though he was here for 5 years, 03 to 08. But McDermott got that. Somebody asked, Jack Del Rio. I only wanted one guy that had only been here 1 year. Del Rio was only here for 1 year. And that was 2002, the year before we went to the Super Bowl. So I thought about putting Del Rio on there. And I was like, well, he's only here for a year. And I already got Wilkes on there for a year. So we'll do offensive coordinators next week. I might move to the O-line and start getting through those, because there's some dudes that we can go through in the history of the Panthers. That offensive line one is going to be hard. Yeah, the guards. It's going to, we'll get to a defensive line too, because I'm sitting there thinking about like Chris Jenkins and
the more I'm thinking
Buckner about and
the whole construction of the offense, I'm starting to think maybe need to go to a 21 person.
I mean, maybe we need to decide that, because I say 53, but it could be variations of how many come on.
I mean, you got Stu, you got CMC, you got D'Angelo Williams.
I was going to just put Stu on it, like not even have him in the boat, because he's the all-time leading rusher. Like, I'm not going to let the fans mess this up.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this. That boy Christian McCaffrey is special.
You got the, he gonna get on. It's gonna come down to like D'Angelo and like Tim Biakapatuka. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta go back. Like, and Tim was nice.
But I'll tell you this too, though.
Stay on the field.
D'Angelo, every time D'Angelo touched the ball, bro, he was just like CMC.
Yeah,
it was a potential of it being taken to the house.
People forget how good D'Angelo Williams was, especially like his first 4 or 5 years in Carolina. And then when you guys teamed up for double trouble.
Listen, hey, it's 3rd and 11. Let's hit this draw. D'Angelo is going. You ready? 3rd and 11, bro. And like they're like at least 33% of the time he was getting the first down on 3rd and 11 out of a draw.
And we'd be at home like ripping our heads out like, why are they doing a draw on 3rd and 11? Oh, okay.
Nope, that's why.
Go D-Will, go.
Watching them dreads bouncing off his back of his nameplate.
Dude was fast too. Yeah. So we're gonna have some fun with the running back part. The wide receiver part's not exactly cut and dry either once you get past like the first 2. There's some names to pick. And then the defense is gonna just be like the linebackers. Like, the linebackers is probably gonna be the toughest category, because I'm thinking we take 4. And even that might be enough. Kevin Green needs to play here. You know what I mean? Like Lamar Lathan, like
loaded.
And that's not even out of the 90s, yet. Like, I'm still in the 90s talking about those, and we haven't even got to middle linebacker U. Like, it's gonna be crazy. I'm curious to see how the fans do this, because I'm
what's one of the things that you guys took from this draft? Like, just the whole entire draft, combine, not draft, the NFL combine.
Underwear Olympics. Underwear Olympics. Like, it's basically a I don't want to re-echo what you said at the very beginning of the show, but
we might not need to put that on any clips.
This is gonna pull that out first. It's gonna be like underrated. Let's use this one. Let's go.
Don't put that clip out there. Just let them find it as they actually watch it. If y'all want to hear what I said earlier, just go back and watch.
I gotta go back because I ain't even say it. Like you gotta go back to the beginning of the show.
Nothing. We ain't doing none of that.
Overreactions.
I've never been a combine guy. Like I like seeing the clips. Like if somebody breaks the record, like Worthy did on the 40, although I'm old school. Oh my god!
What, you got a little chihuahua over there?
Yeah, I do. Exactly, a chihuahua. Could you tell?
I think
it's my car repair guy. My car repair guy's here. But I forgot what I was going to say because Sadie's going, will you grab Sadie? Okay, she's
Sadie?
And she's the worst, man. She's the worst guard dog. She'll bark at the door, but then she'll go hide behind the couch right by the door and keep barking. I'm like,
she's little, bro.
You a chihuahua for real, like all the way up and down. Like just you think you 5 feet tall and nobody is scared of you.
The biggest thing about it to me is like I think so many fans are like not even just the casual fans, like the diehard fans. They watch this and they come away from it like, oh my gosh, we need to trade up for this guy. We need to have more picks. And not listen. These decisions, for the most part, on guys or scouting reports, they're already kind of made up.
They already
have their decisions. This is just more about getting to see them in person and getting that confirmation, right?
Exactly.
They've spent so many countless hours on these guys watching their film. They already know who they are,
and being able to like do the interview process.
Yeah.
And the same with the thing with Xavier Worthy, like Stu mentioned earlier, like. Yeah, that's an incredible 40 time, but that doesn't mean you need to go up and trade in the first round like some Panthers fans are suggesting to go get him.
Oh, we can't get him now.
John Ross, everyone was blown away by John Ross when he lit it up. What has he done in the NFL?
Great example. That is a great example.
It's got to translate to playing football.
I'm old school. That's still not the record. I've always grown up knowing the record for the 40 was Bo Jackson. He ran like a 4.12 or something nuts, like untimed, and like it's the unofficial 40 record, like him and Dion. Like Dion ran some ridiculous 40, but it was like win aided or something. But everybody there knew it's like, nah, that is what it is. But the official record is 4.21. But I've always heard 4.12, which is not. That's like alien. Like you can't. But I've always heard Bo Jackson 4.12 on like an unofficial 40 that he did.
What was your 40 time?
4.08.
Yeah, he put him up. He had him up on social media.
But you want to know what though?
Yeah.
I ran hurt. And so like my expectation was to actually run a 4.3, 4.36, which is what I ran in actual like at college. We had Jimmy Radcliffe, who was basically the pioneer of plyometrics. So explosion was everything, right? Explosion and conditioning.
Oregon.
But I was actually, so I had a toe injury that ended up getting surgery on post combine by Dr. Anderson, actually here in North Carolina, before I got drafted by the Carolina Panthers. It's actually kind of a crazy story. We can say that for another day, but at the combine with all the running backs, we were a heavy running back draft.
It was.
We talk about Darren McFadden, Sharp Mendenhall, Felix Jones, Chris Johnson, Matt Forte, Ray Rice.
Chris Johnson was in your draft?
Yeah. That boy was fast. That's a guy right there that figured it out.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, I'm gonna run this 40, and it's gonna mean something because when I get this hole, I'm out of here."
2,000 yards later.
J2K.
Yeah, he was a problem.
But I wasn't gonna run because I had a jacked up toe. But what ended up happening is we were all sitting around, and Doug Williams, the quarterback that, first black quarterback to win the Super Bowl.
Love Doug Williams.
My man.
Yeah.
He, he was there working the combine and came over to the running backs, kind of talking to the guys like, all right, well, what about you? You running today? I was like, Nah, I wasn't planning on it. My toes messed up. He's like, well, if you fast, you're fast. And I'm like, what? What does that even mean? You playing mind games with me? Like, so he just left. Just walked off. I'm like, okay. So Doug Williams was just in my presence. And he just told me if I'm like, just kind of like checked me basically. Like, well, if you're fast, like, then you fast. Like, just go out there and prove that you fast. I don't care what limbs you got.
You just got to know, man. It don't matter. If you fast, you fast.
And so I went to Tashard Choice and I said, yo, let me use your cleats. He let me use his cleats, put them on, strap them up, and I ran my 40. Ran it twice. So
do you think that 40 helped?
Yeah, I think for me it did, because a lot of what was being said about me going into that combine was that I was hurt, I was gonna have to have surgery, and that I was a coaster. I wasn't necessarily an explosion guy. Like I wouldn't, saying like hitting the hole fast or anything like that. Like I was a coast guy. Because we ran a spread offense in Oregon out of the gun. And a lot of times, the holes that were there, they were bigger because of, the alignment of our offensive line and whatnot. And so yeah, I think it did help me. And I think it also helped, given the fact that I was hurt and I ended up having surgery like a couple weeks later after I ran 4.48 on a messed up toe. I'm pretty sure like Carolina Panthers and certain teams were probably like, wow, he went out there hurt and still was able to do something.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, man, when you're playing football, you play any sport, you're never going to be completely healthy. And so to be able to get your mind like moving in the direction of like, hey, look, I just got to get to a place to where I can play a little bit because then you just turn the on switch on. You turn the on switch on, and you just go. Like game day is just different, man. That adrenaline pumping, you don't feel nothing until the next day. It's just weird. I played injured throughout my whole career, basically, and Sundays just felt different. Waking up in the morning, I was like, dang, my ankles kind of feel a little bit looser and a little bit better. Like it legitimately happened every Sunday. And the games that I missed, it was because I was legitimately hurt.
What was the worst part about that whole like combine process? Like, what was the one thing you just like, man, I don't want to do this? Like,
yeah, they did this this quad test where we had to
quad test.
Yeah, like this like pumping, I forget what they called it, man. Like, the leg extension machine.
Oh, like how much you can lift?
Well, now it was just like we was just basically testing how many times and like go maxed out on the leg extension press. It was the stupidest thing that I've ever done in my entire life. I was like, man, like my legs are tired. Like, but basically, they just wanted to see like how good your knees were.
Now, did you meet with the Panthers at the combine?
I did not. I met with Coach Skip. So Coach Skip was in. I met him just randomly because his son coached at Washington State, who's now coaching at Buffalo now. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, his coach. Yeah, so I met him at the hotel and we just kind of chatted. And then once the combine was over, I met some of the scouts, like Don and Marty at Eugene on Pro Day, but I didn't participate in Pro Day because I was in a walking boot from surgery. And so I met them at a hotel, and it was kind of like a secret meeting. That's what I felt like. I was like, man, I didn't talk to y'all at all at the combine, but okay. And so obviously they were strategic about, how they wanted to go about their process of, drafting me and whatnot, which was very under the radar.
Yeah.
And then surely enough, I got surgery here in Carolina by Dr. Anderson, who at the time was Panthers team doctor. And so, yeah, man, it was definitely not your typical situation, to say the least.
We're having some good Stu draft stories coming up here in the next month or so.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Hoping to win on them.
Get them ready. And you're right. We weren't expecting to draft a running back in 08 because D'Angelo just got drafted 2 years prior. I want to say we had 2 firsts that year because didn't Jeff Otah get drafted with you?
Yep, Jeff Otah got drafted after me. So they basically went into that draft and said, "Hey, we're committing to a physical running game."
Yeah. That's what we had going forward.
This is a recipe, man. Jeff Otah, man.
I know. I feel so bad. Man. I feel the fans talk about him all the time, like they downplay him. I'm like, yo, when he was out there, he was a monster.
Yeah, Jeff Otah, like, just played. That's why I'm saying, like, you can never really, as a, go into this process with the draft, like, you either hit on guys or you don't. I felt like we hit on Jeff. Yeah, and it's just the nature of the game is injuries. Like, if you can't stay healthy, then that's the story, right? Unfortunate. But Jeff Otah was out there moving furniture. Mm-hmm. It was so easy to run behind him, bro. Like, I was like, oh, hit the outside. Oh, Jeff's right there. Easy 20-yard. That's a 20-yard gain, easy.
Let's like 6'7", 6'6", 3.
He was a load.
330.
He was a refrigerator, bro.
Yeah, man. He was a problem.
He was a big dude.
Let's go ahead, Stu.
Sorry, I got one little thing.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about the combine. And I'm with you guys. I'm with you, Schuyler, like, as far as, like, you're watching the combine, it's like, can't take things with a grain of salt. But one of the things I read was about D'Amico Ryans and just his mindset when it comes to, these players and what they're evaluating. And I think it's basically how I look at it. We're in good hands with Dan Morgan and Canellas. Mm-hmm. And this quote, it says, the on-field workouts, I think that it's more of you all watching and figure out who runs the fastest and who doesn't, Casero said. But the next time we use how fast an offensive line ran a 40 in our evaluation will be the first. Head coach D'Amico Ryans says something similar about adding to the Texans culture. It's more than just if you're a good football player or not. It's always person over player, and bringing the right person is the highest importance. It's the highest importance to me. So basically, like, I read that quote and I'm just like, man, that's alignment, between two guys that are obviously on the same page as far as how to build your roster. You're building your roster based off of the person and based off of, like, like, think about it, the 40 time. It means nothing. It doesn't take much for a fast guy to run a fast 40. But what it does take, what it takes to make, a guy that's fast and translate it to football is courage. Like, balls. Like, does he have that dog within his heart to go across the middle knowing he's about to get blown up? Is he going to go over there tiptoeing, or is he going to go in there fast full speed? Is he going to go in there at 17 miles per hour, or is he going to go in there at 21 miles per hour? So, like, those are the things that, you get to understand about players throughout this process is what type of person is he? Does he fit the mold of what we're trying to build? And, finding the right person, not the right player, because at the end of the day, they're all good players, at some level and at some aspect as far as their ability, right? And their potential. But reaching the potential is all about what's in the mind as far as what type of person they are.
I would argue to say that the meetings that these teams have with the players are probably the most important part of the combine.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Field.
Mm-hmm.
You really get a chance to know a player's personality and their background, their family, what they believe in, their faith. Yeah, like all that stuff. Like, and you don't really get that anywhere else really. And I'll end it on this. Whenever I hear Dan Morgan say the word dogs, the image in my head is Steve Smith out leaping somebody for a catch in the middle of the field that he didn't need to go leap for.
Plucking it away.
Yeah, and tucking it away and going like, or stiff arming somebody, or just having this presence, like this identity that's been kind of lacking the past couple of years in Charlotte, but feels like they're gonna start putting this around. We were actually going to show Stu's combine picks, but we've been around an hour and a half, y'all. We got to end this joint because I will say he picked out Joe Milton, the quarterback from where's Joe from again?
Tennessee.
Lad McConkey. I saw somebody mention his name, or McCoskey. No, McConkey. That's right. Lad McConkey. Georgia was mentioned in the comments a couple of times here. Thomas Hayes mentioned him. Got speed, premier route running ability. I don't think he'll be available for us. Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky stood out to you, and
love Corley.
I can't read my own handwriting. Kamani Vidal from Troy.
Yeah, the running back.
So
he ran a solid 40 that really kind of stood out in the sense of, okay, if he hits the secondary, he can take it the distance. I love his size, 5'8", compact, can block. I mean, can catch out of the backfield. There's really no downside to him as far as like what you're looking for. Like, especially as a guy that can come in on a third down and make some things shake. Especially the first year at least. Change the pace guy.
So I've got people in the comments saying, show the clips. We out of time. We ran over what we normally do on Bleav and Panthers. How about this as we get into draft stuff? Instead of me running the picks that we had pulled from the combine, we'll start to zero in on, I'm sure Schuyler's going to start narrowing down on who can we get at our second round or third round, like what can we do, who the players are going to be in that area, and we can start to try to convince you guys that we need to start looking at these particular players, and we'll start looking at their clips as we start going forward throughout the week. Again, go follow on X, Bleav in Panthers. The new poll will be up as we continue the ultimate 53-man roster for Carolina. Should be offensive coordinator will be up a little later today. And then I'm probably going to move to one of these lines, probably the offensive or defensive line, and get that defensive line. It's going to be really hard. So I might start off, we might get in some real debate here as we go forward with that. So definitely participate in that. Follow us on all of our social media for clips throughout the week, news, notes. Follow us individually on Twitter. Just don't follow my bad account. Follow the good one. Unless you really want some Bitcoin info, then you can go over there and follow that one. But we got to get out of here. Now that Facebook's up, I know Schuyler's chomping at the bit to finally go post the stuff that he needed to post like an hour ago. So we'll let him run. Stu busy. I got stuff I got to go take care of too. So for Jonathan Stewart, for Schuyler Callihan, this is Desmond Johnson. You've been watching and listening to the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast here on Bleav Podcast Networks, brought to you by Bet Online and Cut. Keep pounding.